I've done a little over 400 bike fits now, and one thing I find the most is that actually over the last year and a half it's become more of a full fit than a bicycle fit. So the bicycle is actually fit pretty well. Most good stores do a good job getting in the right spot. People come with discomfort in their back or in their neck in a variety of places, and often the bike fit can help this a little bit, but often it's really something we have to take a look at ourselves, either strength and flexibility or an imbalance somewhere that no matter how much we change the bicycle around, we really need to look back at ourselves and try to get ourselves more balanced to be able to then put ourselves in a better position. When I talk about some of the things, a few of the people that you see today will, probably most of the people riding and helping out are in a more optimal position, but that takes time to get to. And I think I'll start off with one example in that when we get Melinda on her bike, you'll see that when she's sitting on her saddle, she can't touch the ground. So keep in mind that some of the seat height things that I discuss are as long as you're comfortable enough on your bike to lean over, clip out, and feel comfortable doing so. So you may have to actually have your bike fit just so that you feel comfortable getting on and off the bike. That's totally irrelevant of performance or getting up a hill. As we get closer and closer to having our bicycle fit more properly, then the seat being higher can help us with more leverage and have a bit better pedal stroke, which I can explain when Melinda's on her bike because we use our hip a lot to pedal on a bicycle up steep hills. So I think having said that, I'll just get Melinda to sit. You'll be on your bike for a little bit as I babble, and Matt P. either hold the front or the back before you sit up. Just one second. Basically, when I talk about the seat, there's going to be seat height up and down. You can move your seat forward and backward, and we're going to start here. And Melinda, just jump up on your bike. So keep in mind, with seat height, I mean, this is pretty old school, but if Melinda clips out her left foot and puts her heel on the pedal, it's about as old school as it gets. If anybody has something older, let me know. When you're at the bottom of the pedal stroke here, you know, the old school portion of this would be that your legs should be straight. You know, to be honest, when you get more close to your optimal seat height, your heel would actually be more like 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch away from your pedal if you're flexible enough. Okay, so that's sort of at the optimum. You can go ahead and sit back in. What you want to do is set up your seat height first, and keep in mind this is all based on flexibility. So let's say you're comfortable clipping out and leaning your bike off to the side to get off your bicycle if you need to. Well, then you need to be able to pedal backwards, and you want to have your ankle in a perfect world at about 90 degrees pretty much throughout the whole pedal stroke. So a lot of times you'll see people really driving their heel down in the pedal stroke. That can either be from maybe reading old articles and or their seat's just too low, so they're trying to look for more power, and when we look for more power, we push our heel down. Basically in the beginning, I think you need to set your bicycle up for comfort. As you get more and more comfortable on your bicycle, you want to try to be able to have it almost as high as possible, but still get through the bottom of your pedal stroke without your foot breaking that 90-degree angle. Does everybody understand what I mean by 90 degrees at the ankle? So right here, if Melinda was to go through the bottom of her pedal stroke backwards, at the bottom, if her heel was quite high and this is open of 90, that's too high. Okay? However, if she can get through the very bottom of the stroke, actually in line with the seat tube, which is where we reach the furthest, and still be at 90 degrees, that's okay. Keeping in mind that all these muscles on the back of her body, if they're too tight, are not going to allow that to happen. So you want to try to keep 90 degrees. If your seat's still pretty low and a friend says, you know, your seat could go up, maybe you need to stretch more. Okay? So that's about as high as we want to get our seat height, is through the bottom of the pedal stroke, keeping 90 degrees in our ankle. As far as fore and aft goes, can I get you to jump off just for a second? I'm going to be a little bit general, but across most of the bike fits I find that if you're not familiar, this part of the bicycle is called the bottom bracket. If your bicycle is on level ground, and you could take a plumb bob or some kind of a line and drop it down from the nose of your saddle, being general, but most people end up in this position anyway, you want the nose of the saddle to be over the bottom bracket or within 5 centimeters. Okay? Now, the taller you are, you're going to be a little further back. The shorter you are, you're going to be a little bit further forward. I find that most women or men under 5'5", you're going to be at 0 centimeters behind or within 3. We start getting up to about maybe 5'10", 5'11", they're sort of in that 2 to 4 centimeters, nose behind the bottom bracket. And if you're really tall, then you might be an exception and be further back than that. A mountain bike fit is not the same as a road bike fit. We tend to do most of our climbing and mountain biking up steep terrain, and if you ride your mountain bike already, you notice when you come to steep hill, what's the first thing you want to do when you come to a hill? Is it move forward? Do you want to move forward on your seat? No? Okay, maybe we'll go over that here. But generally you'll see people creeping forward on the nose of their saddle as they climb up steeper terrain. And what we like to do is if we can put the part that you're supposed to sit on closer to that place, there's less moving around. Okay? And the sport of mountain biking is a lot about climbing. So that's the tendency to have our seats a little further forward and a little bit higher in mountain biking. Start off by getting in that little 0 to 5 centimeter range. You might want to play with it, and you know, if you're finding climbing's a challenge and you're always finding the front wheel comes up and you've done everything everybody's asked you to, try moving your seat a little bit further forward and raising it a little bit. You might find the climbing a little bit better. Once you have the seat at what you believe to be the right height, you want to try to have your spine, when you're in a comfortable climbing position, which isn't way down here, okay? You want to sit up. And the one thing I think people forget when we're cycling is that it's not really athletic. But if you're playing hockey or basketball defense, or if you're going to do a back squat in weightlifting, or pick up a box at work properly, your spine is going to be about 45 degrees neutral. So when you set up your handlebars, we should see 45 degrees neutral here in our spine, and then a little bit general, but we should see another 90 degrees here, another box. Okay? If you can stay at 45 degrees neutral, your body's going to be a lot stronger. You'll be able to utilize your core to go over logs and climb hills and do a lot of things in an already set position. If I get Melinda to lean way down again, like we see a lot when we climb, which is maybe a little bit like when we met, but what it really does is it closes down this hip angle. The more you close down the hip angle, the less you can pedal with your hip. That's one thing I really believe in mountain biking. You can relax, Melinda. One thing I really believe in mountain biking is we have to have our hip open enough to be able to use it on climb. The reach and the drop down, I'd like to see the handlebar at least level with the seat, and you can go up to about 75 millimeters below the handlebar. The taller you are, the more flexible you are, you can go a little bit lower. The more confident you are, you can go a little bit lower. But I find for Ontario riding, there's really no need to have the handlebar above unless you have an actual problem with your spine that doesn't allow you to go there, let's say medically. Any questions? 45 degrees neutral spine once we find what we believe to be our optimal seat height. I'd like to see the handlebar at least level with the seat, preferably a little bit lower. You're going to find that it's going to help you climbing, and that when we're descending, most of the time we're off the seat. So the relationship changes right away, which is the funny thing. As soon as Melinda stands up to go down a hill, the relationship from the bar to the seat's drastically different anyway. So keep that in mind. That I think in Ontario we do want to set our bikes up to climb hills better, and that descending will come from confidence and you're off the bike most of the time. I think as you read magazines and look at other people's bicycles, be very careful because, like Matt, how tall are you?
6.
Okay, Matt's 6 feet tall. I'm 5'9", and I'm lying actually because I think I'm 5'8.5". We both ride.
I'm 5'11.5" technically.
Okay, so we're both lying. So Matt and I both actually ride the same size bike. Now I don't have the same standover height that Matt does, but I like the top tube to be a little longer. Okay, so that I can run a little bit shorter stem. So, and other people's bicycles, be very careful because what you have to remember is it's all about the contact points. If you point it this way. Pedals, our seat, and our handlebars. So we're trying to set up this relationship here, and that's really what's important. So if you look at Matt, we have the same bike. If you look at Matt, he's taller than me. His seat is if you just point, his seat's a little bit further forward on his seat post, okay? And mine's actually pretty far forward on my seat as well, but I've actually got a seat post that brings me even further forward on my bicycle. So I need that because I'm a little shorter, but I want this extension because most of my little 5'8" heads is from here up. So be very careful with visual. That's why I like to relate everything to the bottom bracket and start with your seat height, because really this is where our power comes from, and then this is where our handling and our comfort comes from. If you've got a bike fit and you've tried a million different seats and your blah 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 is still sore and this and that, it might be time to actually look off the bicycle and maybe a bit at yourself, because that's really